yesterday. So I finished a live stream and I'm testing out this product right here. Um, and it went pretty well. I was delighted with it. I'm using Restream right now and I'm doing a secondary recording on my desktop. And it is a lot of effort on my part. You can see my face is all whited out. There's too much light here. Color balance isn't good. Well, it went to dark, it went to back. But I got the question for all the effort, for all the challenges it takes, is it worth it? Did you get many views? And if you know anything about what we do here at my agency and um, the From My Desk program itself, is that I'm not really here for views because every bit of content goes to paid subscribers who are interested in specific solutions to help them solve problems in their business. And this question came in, and I think it's a very important question to understand. First off, I'm Justin Hitt, and this is the From My Desk newsletter. If you want to learn about this, it's at www.jwhco.com, which is my marketing agency, consultancy agency, where we focus on business development and risk management. Now, I'm not doing these calls to get hired. I'm doing these calls as part of my professional practice and professional education. And also, it's fun to chat back and forth with current and past clients about some of the challenges that they face. Now, these are topics that are okay to put online and, people can see them. So I'll very often share edited versions of the video, or in this case, try to do live stream. We're recording live on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And by the way, you might be able to see the message uh, and so this will let us chat. I think it's on YouTube. I'm not really sure. But if you're watching the show live, you can actually put questions in the comments below. And then at the end of the show, I can answer the questions. But again, the question that I had after the show last time was, did you get many views? And I said I didn't really care if I got any views because I know my numbers. So when I'm looking at numbers, I'm looking at how many views something needs to get over time in order to feed a lead funnel. So that's the real insight that I'm going to share here today. Now I'm just going to go through this presentation. And if you have specific questions, do put them in the comments below. I have a general idea since we're broadcasting over several channels who's watching, but this is really for marketers, for subject matter experts, for businesses who want to reach more customers in the marketplace, but you've got a challenge. You've got a complex solution that very often your clients don't understand right away. Or if they do understand it, you have a lot of competitors in the marketplace that are kind of meddling things up. So you have a solution that works very well, but your competitors have other solutions that maybe don't work as well. It's all high ticket solutions, but you're up against a pretty big learning curve, a pretty big challenge. So this could be an IT solution. It could be a course or could be a intellectual property type of thing. So maybe you're an independent consultant. Maybe you offer a technology device and it's not readily available to the general audience that you want to reach. And so we're using content to present. Now, today, like I said, this software Restream is pretty easy to set up. I don't get any affiliate commissions from this or anything. It's just I'm trying out a number of platforms, and if I'm going to test a platform, I might as well just go live because I do podcasts, I do video channel, video log. I've got articles and books that I've written for myself and for clients, and so again, the world is different today. Now, the reason I don't care if I get a bunch of traffic is because I'm serving a specific viewer. I'm not trying to sell to everybody. I'm not trying to sell to the general Joe Schmo consumer. In fact, I'm not even trying to offer solutions to all the small businesses or entrepreneurs available. Now, when I say I serve business owners and executives, that contextually frames in $1 million plus companies. It contextually frames in large companies. I worked for Fortune 100 companies, and my work modality tends to be contract related. So I'm going to go work for somebody as an independent contractor, corp to corp, 1099 contractor on a 3 to 6 month basis, maybe 18 months. Maybe it'll renew a whole bunch of years. But again, I'll have 3 to 5 clients, private clients in place, and sometimes exclusives. That's just me. Again, it's hard to just put that on a website. I don't know what it is for you, but maybe you're a CPA and you serve a certain industry. And so you don't want to reach bakers and candlestick makers because you're over there niching out on the butchers who are a certain size and have a certain type of business structure or have a certain type of element. Maybe you're not doing taxes. Maybe all you're doing is compliance and reconciliation. And then you have a tax attorney do the taxes because it's a more complex situation. Again, if we're creating general content that's going to please everybody and have thousands of viewers, it's going to stroke your ego pretty good. But I'm not concerned about impressing my ego. I want to impress my bank account. And I can't find the right people who can say yes to what it is I have to offer if I have an international appeal, if I have a broad scope appeal, if I'm dealing with topics that are basic to my clients. Now, it is possible for my client to not understand what I'm talking about because it's complex. And maybe they're new in the industry and I give them 6 months and they'll understand it. The reason I have the content out there is because I know my numbers. And the reason and the ability to know your numbers is more powerful than the numbers you get. So here's what I wrote back. And this is a LinkedIn reply. This is a private message, but it's okay to share it here. Um, but I said, in general, I publish on several channels and get 10 to 25 monthly views across all channels. So this video right now is going out on YouTube and it's going out on LinkedIn. And then after it's edited and resyndicated, it might go out on Rumble and BitChute and Facebook and be chopped up into shorts. It may go out in a lot of different places, but in general, the initial presentation garners 10 to 20 monthly views. Now, by no means is that viral. By no means is that going to get me monetized on the YouTubes. By no means is that a lot of people, unless topically and contextually it is closely aligned to decision makers and the problems they face. See, when you're publishing stuff online and you're judging it by Mr. Beast or you're judging it by the latest Taylor Swift video, you're automatically going to fail, and that could discourage you. In fact, when we challenge the measurement of our videos against leads generated at our website, how long somebody stayed in the content or where did they drop out, because sometimes I'll make offers along the way, and because I've been doing longer videos lately, it's okay people drop out because I sometimes see the start points come back in, or maybe they went someplace else where I had a little bit more control of the conversation and they had a longer, more in-depth conversation. So very often the clients I work with are subject matter experts who might have a paid consultation, might be a lawyer who has a paid consultation, might be an architect who has a design meeting. It might be a marketing agency. I do help other marketing agencies. It could be a political action committee who just want to advocate on the topic. And then in the back end, they're generating revenue through fundraising. Next paragraph. For every 2,000 organic views, I'll get 1 to 2 leads. Analytics says I got 5 leads in the last 28 days. Now I'm talking specifically about something here. This is not necessarily from one video either. It might be, every month I'm getting 10 to 25 views on the front end, and on the back end I'm getting 1 lead, or I'm getting 0 leads. But again, because I'm using a periodic format, so a lot of times I'll help subject matter experts set up a podcast, set up a newsletter, sometimes even a paid newsletter, set up books or a series of books, or to get on a guest series. So they're guests on multiple podcasts over time. And then we go back to that content and resyndicate it. But if the initial recording of 30 minutes, 45 minutes, even 2 hours reaches people in these different areas, I'm always inviting them back to www.justinhit.com. I'm always inviting them back to one of the specific websites. And so if I'm looking at this, I would say, I'm putting this in the chat right now, the www.jwhco.org. Actually, it should be .com, but it doesn't matter. It all ends up in the same place. That's my point. If I do every month a webinar, every month a presentation, every month an interview, every month some activity, in the course of a year, that's 12. So if I do 12 presentations in a year, I now have something for my prospects to anticipate. I now have a reason to put people on an email list. I now have something I can deliver value. I can also have that video transcribed, and I can take that video and turn it into a chapter in a book. I can turn it into a special report. I can use it. I can hand it to a copywriter and say, make a sales letter out of this. See, what we're doing here is we're doing the work once and using it many times. And so what happens is if it's more efficient to take the video from the channel to use in follow up or specific person conversation. So those 10 to 15, those 10 to 25 people who see these videos every month across all these channels may not be as qualified as somebody who I've interacted with in the past. And I say, oh, by the way, I noticed you had a question about such and such. Here's a training program that goes over that. Here's a free coupon to get access to a 3-part series that we put together last year about the specific thing that you're going to have a problem with, that you're having a problem with, and we would love to help you solve that problem. Do you see what we're doing here? So now it's more efficient to go direct, but if I don't do the video in the first place, I don't have anything to go direct with. And so I'm losing momentum because now I got to create something. And everybody's like, oh, it's so hard to create things. But again, talk shows, other live events. In fact, one of the reasons I don't dress up to do these anymore, I kind of never dressed up to do these anyway, is because I'm being authentic by showing up as I am. I did another recording earlier today. I think the room's a little hot. My face is a little red. I was flagging myself because I was so hot and sweaty. But again, it's about being present to the specific audience you serve. And then within that audience, I'm now generating leads, which then I can make a private offer someplace else. But what you want to do now too is if you're not happy with the video, maybe you feel self-conscious on the video. Maybe you're afraid because I'm like whitewashed in the face and I don't want to set my face like this because then it looks like I'm bald up here. And then oh my gosh, is making a line over this. If you're conscious about that, you can always edit the raw video, take down the stuff that was live, put the stuff that was live behind a paywall or something. And then when you edit the video, put it back out there. You don't even have to show your face in it afterwards. You can get an AI filter to make you look all cool. But anyway, let's keep going. So I do the videos mainly in response to an inquiry already. So I've kind of over the years shortcut the whole thing. So I get the lead first, and then the lead asks a question, and then I reply with the video to answer the question, which builds up and establishes rapport. And sometimes I might even say, hey, John, thank you for asking your question about X, Y, and Z. I want to make sure that I answer it. And so we're going to talk about 3 specific things that you can do and then whatever the solution is they're trying to accomplish. And then I cut the front off of it, cut the back off it, boom, it's a podcast. And so we're doing the work once. See, this is the advantage of having a marketing agency is that I get to see document production in this organization. I get to see document retention and recycling of documents in this other organization. I get to see how they handle their media lab. I get to see how they handle their copy for lead generation. And then I can go back and I can say, well, we can build this into a system. I optimize the system by looking at it as a functional development inside the business. And then we look at risks because again, if I say something live, a lot of you folks are worried. Like if you say something live or somebody interrupts you or you accidentally hold up a piece of paper that's going to have your private and personal information on it, well, that video could go out there and get you in trouble. Or maybe you're rapping back and forth with somebody doing an interview and you say, F this, F that, and now you look bad. I can understand that concern, but after you do this a while, it won't matter because you're going to be able to have a structured presentation. This presentation is based on a formula. I have this reference paper in front of me so that I'm able to progress through it in a meaningful way. And so that fear is valid, but it's not necessarily something that should stop you because you can do pre-recorded presentations. We talk about this in my event marketing system, and it's something I'm learning how to do better because there are times where you just want to present, generate a bunch of leads, compare that with a different ad, and then if something works well, put the promotion on top of it. And so you go from 25 to 10 to 25 to 100 to 250, and now you're feeding a known working system. So I have more than 700 podcasts, and I know which of the 700 podcasts generate me more leads than others. And now I can put a paid campaign behind it if I need clients. If I want to set my calendar up for the next year, I go find the 5 or 6 that I know will bring in a type of client that I want. And then I don't know if you want to have this kind of power when it comes to your marketing efforts, but I have evergreen residual value in the content I created. I have it libraried somewhere, and then ultimately I can pull something from the library. It's full of cross references. It's full of context for the specific audience, and then I could just say, "Hey, here's 5 things. Put them together into a course. Put some B-roll in between, and I'm done." See, I didn't have to. I only had to record it once. I'm 15 minutes into a call, and I'm going to get thousands of hours of value out of this, whether or not I'm the editor. Sometimes I edit, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I hand it to another person. Sometimes I have them excerpt. But again, the efficiency is important. The ability to measure is important. And then ultimately, the monetization of results. So the last video I produced, and I'm reading from here. The last video I produced was to monetize some. It was the process that I'm using to monetize manuscripts that I've used for clients in the past to monetize their back catalog of content. Now, again, you have to have a back catalog of content, but even if it's poor, it's better than not having it at all. And in the knowledge worker area, in the thought leadership area, sometimes you need to get your well-developed ideas out to the general public before everybody knows about it. Because you know what AI is doing today. AI is reading your blog posts, it's transcribing your videos, and it's not going to give you any credit for this stuff unless you deliberately design a system that puts you as the authority. And we talk about that in my book, Establish Instant Credibility. And if you're interested in any of these things, just ask in the comments below. Somebody will get you a link. You can contact us at www.jwhco.com and ask on the contact page or whatever. I think there's a catalog there. But do you see what I'm saying here? So the ideas are out there already. You might think it's a unique idea, but maybe your ability to convey it needs practice. Maybe you want to work on your presentation and staying power in presentations. In the beginning, I could only talk for 5 minutes or so. I just did a 2-hour presentation a little while ago, and then this presentation will maybe be 30 minutes. But it's again discussing the thing is that it doesn't matter how much traffic you get if you're measuring the leads and the sales. And if you have a clear sales funnel that brings people from not understanding the value you can deliver to fully understanding the value you can deliver, or even along the way, as Frank Kern talks about, results in advance. And again, no, there's nothing that I know that I haven't gained from some mentor or gained from some investment in education or gained by practical implementation. And so you won't know if video works good for you unless you give it a try. Now, a lot of folks here are professionals, high income professionals, and a lot of you do teleseminars every day, but you're calling them meetings or presentations. I did a meeting for a Fortune 100 company, had 147 people on the call. There were technical difficulties around every corner. I practiced for hours to do that presentation, and I get done with my 15-minute segment, and then I stop, and nothing happens. I see people are there, and then questions start coming in, and then I get they were private pings. Oh, what a great job you did. Can you go on a little bit more about such and such? And then somebody else that I expected who's running the clock never said anything. So I did another 15 minutes. And then at the end of that, maybe half the people were gone. But the other people were like, "Hey, Justin, can we meet next week to go over this more detail? Oh, I really like how you position such. I'm getting great feedback, private messages. My second screen is pinging like crazy." And then I'm like, "Hello, hello, anybody on the call?" And there's 2 people on the call live. And as you know, with most corporate meetings, most people just tuned out, but it's the 2 people that were there that mattered, not all the people that dropped out. And again, it was a recorded presentation. So those who had to drop for another call or something could listen to it again. I had a secondary camera set up. So if I want to revive those materials and use them again, maybe edit out some of the proprietary information or whatever, I can do that. But again, I can't go back in time to that one time I had a presentation with 147 people and they were all interested and excited and wanted to do new things. And they were just raging, like maybe 5 out of the 147 were really excited, but I'm in the small numbers business. I'm in the business of buyers, not the business of fans. I don't need you to like and subscribe to my channel. I'll find you if you're qualified to do business with me because I'm an active direct response marketer, and the business development solutions that I have and the risk management solution I have are such high value that I don't need 500 clients a year. Now, wouldn't it be great to have them on a newsletter and, they're paying a subscription every year? And that's what my From the Desk is. I think it's $197 and you get to be on webinars and ask specific questions and get to see programs like this before anybody else. But again, I'm figuring out how to do it live because I know that for every video that I put out there that is niche specific, audience specific, that is serving specific needs of the people I work with I get 10 to 25 people a month every month for the rest of the life of the video. I've got videos that are 8 years old that still get 10 to 25 people a month watching the video. Now, if the format is bad, if the sound is bad, if there's no variety in the screen, and if you watch some of my really old videos, if they're boring, I spoke in front of an audience, a hostile audience of more than 350 people. And I wish I had a recording of that because it was the most magical presentation I ever did. The guy before me said all kinds of offensive things and really worked that audience up and got them pissed. I got out there and I pulled one of the previous speakers who just happened to be an 11-year-old boy who had his own trucking company. And I made it all about him. And I used the examples of the lessons I was going to teach the audience through him and the people that are in the room. And I saved that audience who was going to kick my ass because the previous speaker had ruined the room. And ultimately, at the end of the meeting, I got to hang out where the other guy ducked out the back door when his presentation was done. But it was a very good audience, best presentation I've ever made. I don't have a recording of it. I have no evidence that I was ever at that presentation. I'm sure somebody remembers. There's quite a few people there, um, and I did business with some of the people in the audience. But my point being is, you can't go back in time and record that presentation you did. So if you're doing a presentation for work and maybe it is proprietary and you can't record it at work, you could record a few practice sessions that have been specially adapted without the confidential information or the proprietary information. Now there is a problem. There is a problem um, because, and I'm not going to read the rest of this private message. It's not necessary, but there is a problem. There is an unlimited supply of content out there. And there's a lot of content that's trying to bait people in because the belief is that views matter. I don't care about views. Half the views could be robots. Of that 10 to 25 people a month, it could be robots. I don't know. It could be trying to AI trying to pick my brain to find out what I know so that it can replace me with the robot master. Okay. Maybe the robot picked up that expression, but I was being sarcastic. Okay. What I care about is that I reach you. I reach the people who are business owners and executives who have the challenge of being misunderstood, who have the challenge of being ignored, who have the challenge of having a really good product or solution and nobody seems to notice. Or even worse is they got a good solution, but they're losing their shirt because the people who are buying the product or service, maybe you're not getting a premium price. Maybe there's other competitors entering the marketplace. Maybe Timu has come out with your solution, and now and that's a metaphor for undercutting the marketplace. If we were talking about 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, that would be Walmart. If your product's being commoditized, or even worse, you're so busy serving clients and the business is supporting lifestyle, but deep down inside, you know that if you just lost one or two clients, maybe if there was another COVID, that you would be in a difficult situation. And so what I've done over the years, more than 23 years, and it's initially started out by me doing a recording in response to a client because I was traveling and because I didn't have time to get on the phone, or because I'm doing a recording at 11 o'clock at night and the client's probably asleep. I'm on the West Coast, 11 o'clock at night. Clients on the East Coast, they're probably asleep. So I basically pull up a camera or a digital recorder, or I used to have cassette tapes, and I would say, "Hey, so and so, I understand you have a question about such and such. Here are the three key things you need to know about getting that answer or that problem solved. And if we don't do it the right way, we're going to have these problems." And so it was like the Dick Tracy video conference. And the client was like, "Hey, I'm super happy. I'm glad." Now, I don't have a lot of the cassette tapes anymore, but I do have a lot of the digitized materials. And that was the basis for my podcast. Now, there could be years between recording it for the client and publishing it on a podcast. That's fine. That doesn't matter as much. But the materials are representative of the services that I can deliver. So if you're an architect, you'd talk about architect things. You're not going to run out of architect things to talk about. Maybe you're not going to have the video quality. Maybe you're not going to have the sexy look that everybody wants and that baits them into watching videos. But ultimately, if you're speaking to a specific audience, you can set up a simple background. You can have a conversation with your customer avatar, or in many cases, I talk with specific people. And you can even, once I get all of this live broadcasting figured out, because I've used live broadcasting tools and I've used Zoom and Ring Central and stuff like that. But if I'm going to syndicate on multiple channels, which I find lets me do the work once and get paid for it many times, I would be able to do it more consistently. And then what I would do is I would promote a show. And so I'd say to make my schedule easier, I would say every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. or every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. we're going to have an hour show where we answer your questions about such and such. I think the show format, kind of the talk show format, works really good because trade associations and professional groups are used to that and they'll show up to ask questions. Also, if I'm doing interviews, having a podcast for almost 20 years in variety forms, I do get a lot of requests to interview people, and I do enjoy interviewing folks. I have a bunch of interviews that are recorded that I haven't published yet. They're on telephone. So we probably put that on the audio podcast. But what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up with a library of materials that you can recycle, whether you're creating intellectual property, that's books, reports, training materials, or you're creating educating people on certain processes so that they can hire the right professional in order to solve a complex problem that they might face. Or maybe you're demonstrating your expertise so that when you're working with a recruiter or a hiring manager, they don't have to go through the whole interview process to know you're the one. And so this is extremely valuable, but do not be distracted by views. If on LinkedIn, this video gets one person who can hire me for a product or service who has a specific need, I can put them in the backlog or the waiting list queue. And then if they still have a problem when I need a client, I get a client. But then if I got like 70 people in the backlog queue, I have my choice of clients. Do you see how this works for independent professionals? Do you see how this works for recruiters who want better educated candidates? Can you see how this works for project managers who are looking for new people on their team? Can you see how this works for a product launch where you might be launching a new product and you want to build up an audience before you launch the product? Do you see how this works, folks? And now, again, this is for high ticket services because it does require some effort on your part. I've got to record the video and have somebody edit it. It costs money to do all this stuff. And so, if I'm not offering the books and the reports and the coaching program, I'm not able to break even on this. And without breaking even, I'm not able to then use it as part of my client delivery. Now, fortunately, I've been very blessed to have wonderful clients over the years and to have a steady stream of people who are interested in and building business relationships in a way that creates clients that pay, stay, and refer. And also, my systems in place are far more mature, and we actually even farm out the system. So the marketing agency can do the back end for you. So if I'm going to test out a streaming platform, I'm going to test it out in my own world before I make a recommendation to a client. And so that's why you might see me on different streaming platforms. I may be deliberately working with the tool because I want my principal, my subject matter expert, my business owner or executive to be able to easily set these things up and go. Because if you're working from a script, if you're working on a topic area that you have a subject matter expertise, if you're understanding a little bit beyond Toastmasters, but how to present, how to use gestures, framing, then you're going to produce something that's better than nothing at all. But most likely, you're going to produce something that builds an audience who of which a small percentage will be very interested in hiring you for what you're doing. And so because you're doing the marketing as you go, because we recycle this is content. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I may mention additional resources because a lot of folks will be like, well, where can I learn more? And I say, well, you can learn more, or if you have questions, by visiting www.jwhco.org, because this is the From My Desk newsletter. And I can say, well, if you're not a member of the From My Desk newsletter, you can join us through the catalog there. But see, every dollar revenue, that's not about paying my bills. That's about paying for the video editor. That's about paying for the writer. That's about paying for the marketing campaigns. That's about building an audience like a herd of customers, like Dan Kennedy talks about, a herd of customers or prospects that are highly qualified, pre-screened, and ultimately a great joy to work with. And so rather than having tire kickers and naysayers, which you're going to get those in the comments, by the way, if you're doing live events, you're going to get those in the comments if you're doing a podcast. It's just part of the game. But again, it's a cost-effective way to build your credibility, to build your authority in a marketplace, to leverage the modern media, and to do so in a fun way. I haven't lost anything by spending. So I did an hour and a half presentation earlier. This one's been 30 minutes. This is the last thing I'm doing today, other than the bookkeeping and paperwork and client projects. But I only need to do this once a week because I've got a system in place, and it's actually, we call it the consultant marketing model, but it's a system in place to help you solve problems while understanding the other problems that you face, and then ultimately giving you a path where you can get answers. And so I'm Justin Hitt. This has been From My Desk, answering the question, did you get any views? And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if I got any views, because I'm getting customers. I'm getting clients who pay, stay, and refer. And so every one of these videos, 2,000 to 1 is not, for every 2,000 organic views, I get about 1 or 2 leads. That's not very good. That's not what I'm trying. I would love that to be better. But if I got one person who's a lead who says, I'm interested in X, I want more views on my channel. I said, well, maybe you don't want any views. Maybe you want customers. Let me send you a video. I send them the link to this video, and then they go watch the video. And now I've spent 30 minutes with them without getting back on the phone, and they can make a decision if they want to get more information. And if they have questions, of course, www.jwhco.org, where you can ask your questions. And then I'll probably answer the question in a video, or point you to another video with some context that I've already produced, because I'm building a library of insights that positions me as an expert in the narrow subject matter areas that I do have some understanding. Actually, I'm an incredible expert in these areas: business development and risk management. And then ultimately within that context, I'm also training large language models, because they're going to scrape the content anyway. I'm giving myself search engine opportunities. I'm giving myself a residual newsletter that can be managed by another person. I'm giving myself the opportunity to write books in the future. I'm giving myself a lot of choice and opportunity. Now, you don't have to get on video, you don't have to get on audio, but you do need to get in front of your audience. And that's really what it's about. I want to thank you for taking time with me today. Again, this is from my desk newsletter. There'll be a link in the description below where you can get that newsletter, and that allows you to ask specific questions in which we will cover, because in this creating content at the speed of your voice, I can create an unlimited amount of content. Just like, unfortunately, you can end up on an unlimited number of conference calls in a day. But this is great because discovery calls and appointments and client consultations and billable hours is the real game of business. If you're a subject matter expert, independent consultant, business owner, or executive, thanks for being a part of what we do here. Thanks for making this possible, because it's way different than it was 20 years ago. All right, that's live. See that awkward closing? Don't be afraid of that. Ask your questions. See you in the next one.